A mother disappears beyond the trees to gather food, while her frightened toddler remains in camp beside the fire. But the child has not been abandoned, and nobody nearby acts surprised or rushes to find the mother. An older girl immediately lifts the toddler before prolonged crying can attract danger from beyond the camp. A nearby man offers softened food, while another woman checks the child's newly scraped knee and whispers reassurance. For the next few hours, people who are not the biological parents perform nearly every visible parental task. That shared care may help explain how humanity could afford such a long and vulnerable childhood at all. Human babies are demanding in a way few other young mammals can match for so many continuous years. They arrive physically helpless, grow enormously expensive brains, and depend on skilled adults for food and safety for years. Meanwhile, their mothers must recover from birth, find food, carry gear, maintain relationships, and often nurse another child later. One exhausted adult cannot safely perform every survival job, answer every cry, and remain vigilant through every season. The likely human solution was not simply one endlessly devoted mother assisted by one perfectly reliable father. It was a flexible, replaceable network of relatives, older children, elders, partners, and trusted campmates sharing different costs. Anthropologists call care from someone other than the mother allomaternal care, often discussed more broadly as alloparenting. The name sounds technical, but the behavior is instantly familiar: holding, watching, feeding, carrying, comforting, teaching, and protecting. Archaeology rarely preserves a babysitting shift, so no fossil records which trusted neighbor held a crying child at sunset. Instead, researchers combine human life history, biology with careful comparisons among living small-scale societies in very different environments. Those communities are modern, changing societies with their own histories, not frozen copies of one imaginary Stone Age. They reveal possible human solutions to childcare pressures that mobile families may have faced repeatedly across a very long evolutionary history. Recent research follows Agta families in the Philippines and BaYaka families in Congo, communities separated by geography and ecology. Participants carried tiny remote sensors that repeatedly recorded when specific people remained within a few meters of one another. For infants and toddlers under 4, the resulting close proximity networks contained an important and surprisingly consistent pattern. Fathers and grandmothers certainly mattered, but they were not always the largest or most consistent direct care presence around children. Siblings, adolescents, and unrelated campmates repeatedly occupied the center of children's daily social worlds across both studied populations. Across the two populations, all categories of relatives combined still accounted for roughly 70% of measured close proximity time. Yet, unrelated helpers also made a substantial, recurring contribution that a simple biological family tree cannot explain by itself. Why spend scarce energy protecting, feeding, and soothing a child who carries none of your genes in a dangerous environment? Part of the answer appears to be continuing exchange, but not necessarily a cold calculation or an immediate transaction. Among Agta foragers, researchers analyzed more than 1,700 individual child helper pairings to test several competing explanations for care. Relatedness predicted interaction, but reciprocity strongly shaped care among non-relatives who could build trust through repeated daily exchanges. You watch my child while I gather today. Later, I help when illness, hunger, or work overwhelms your household. The favor may return as food, protection, information, or care rather than identical babysitting. That makes a camp safer than a collection of isolated couples. If one hunter is injured, one mother becomes sick, or one grandparent dies, the network bends. Another person can step closer before a child falls through the gap. This flexibility would be especially valuable when food, water, or shelter became unpredictable. A broad cross-cultural analysis found more alloparental care in harsher environments. That pattern does not prove one universal prehistoric rule. It does suggest that shared care can spread risk when failure becomes deadly. The helpers also gain something immediately: practice. Older children could learn to calm a baby, recognize danger, and read another person's needs. In the Agta and BaYaka data, childhood gradually changed into helping childhood. Around age 2, many youngsters spent increasing time in groups with other children. Some older siblings then became important caregivers while still learning from adults themselves. That arrangement was not automatically gentle, equal, or free. Carrying a toddler costs energy, and watching one child removes time from another task. Young helpers may have carried burdens modern viewers would consider unfair, and help probably varied with kinship, reputation, need, conflict, and local custom. Even the famous grandmother story is only one part of the system. Some children lived far from grandmothers, while others had grandmothers still caring for younger offspring. Fathers could contribute food and protection even when they were not holding children nearby. Direct contact is only one form of investment, and censored data cannot capture every sacrifice. Still, several small-scale societies show helpers collectively providing a large share of infant care. The exact percentage changes, but the basic lesson survives. Motherhood rarely operated alone. That cooperation may have changed more than the odds of one child surviving. It freed adults to gather, hunt, maintain tools, share knowledge, and support additional dependents. It also placed children inside many relationships instead of one fragile bond. Learning whom to trust, persuade, imitate, and help began long before adulthood. So the child beside the fire was never merely someone else's problem. In a dangerous world, raising another person's child helped preserve the entire human network.